Ciao guys, I'm Food here. So we're getting very close to the Oculus Quest release, the first standalone device with 6DoF, full room scale experience like any other PC VR. But there's another thing that Oculus could bring out actually. We had a lot of rumor about it and many has been confirmed as well. And we're talking about the Oculus Rift S, the next reiteration of the first VR headset on the market that didn't really get any update beside the Oculus Touch in all these years. So in this video I'm gonna go through all the details about the Oculus Rift S to see what to expect and why it's so interesting. So let's get to it. Okay, here we are. So first of all, we started to talk about the Oculus Quest at the beginning for a main reason, because this Oculus Rift S seems like it's gonna be very similar to the Oculus Quest, because one of the first confirmation that we had about this headset is the fact that it's gonna have inside-out tracking like it's gonna have the Oculus Quest. So probably they're gonna share exactly the same configuration of camera, so in the four corners, in a way to have a better understanding of all the things around you and the better tracking than what we've seen so far on the Windows Mixed Reality, where you really have to keep like your hands in front of you. I tried the Oculus Quest at OC5, as you can see also from the t-shirt, and I have to say that I was really impressed. The tracking was working very well, and actually when we were talking about it at the Oculus Connect, what was very interesting is the fact that also they were already thinking about having hand tracking, because it could be possible with those cameras and also full body tracking. But in the Snapdragon 835, that is going to be the chipset that is going to power the Oculus Quest, well, we don't have enough power over there, and that's something that, as Carmack said, will be possible on the Oculus Rift S, because you can use just the core in the CPU. Our computer never used really all the cores that it could use, using that for like hand tracking, finger tracking, or like full body tracking, and having a better experience so far, and prepare everything for the future of VR in the next iteration of the next standalone device with a better chipset and everything to have more power and better experience and immersion overall. So the other thing that of course has to be easier is the way to connect it to the PC. For many people it was very complicated. You have to set up all the sensor in the right way with the light inclination. It just takes a long time, and that's also harder because when you want to bring it somewhere, it's like you always have a big configuration and scares people at the end of the day. Instead, we saw with Windows Mixed Reality what was really working, the fact that you were just connecting two cables and you were good to go. And well, that is what I'm gonna expect exactly in the Oculus Rift S, because Oculus is part of the Virtual Link Connection Consortium, so you're gonna be able to see that USB Type-C cable, a single cable coming in on your PC, and be able to connect in any way without any problem. That would be another big step in configuration and setup, because everything will be much easier. Starting in VR will be much easier, and everything will be pretty much ready out of the box, things that we weren't really used to in the first generation of VR. And going back to the inside-out tracking, another thing that we're gonna see on the Oculus Rift will be probably the same controller that we have and we're gonna have on the Oculus Quest. These controllers are made for inside tracking, so the rings are on top. You can't really see the LED on top, but that's how the headset understand directly where your hands are in the game, how you like interact with everything in the game. And that's very interesting, because we tried those controllers are pretty much the same as the Oculus Touch, and we know that those are the best controllers so far that we have still right now on the market. Another thing that we saw actually on the Oculus Go, and is gonna be integrated also in the Oculus Rift S, is the integrated audio, where we're not gonna have probably those clips for the headphones that are coming on top, because that makes it harder to wear every single time. But well, we're gonna have those audio channel on the sides that are actually very good and better than anybody could expect, because I've talked about that actually in the full review of the Oculus Go. This audio is very nice and very positional, and it's very hard to, even if you have nothing over your ears, to hear what's happening around you. It's a very nice technology, as we saw in the Oculus Quest. Probably we're gonna have also the two headphone jacks, so we're gonna be able of course to connect our headphones if we prefer to have a different experience with it. Now, another interesting part, and of course something that they had to update from the Oculus Rift, and pretty much every other company did beside Oculus, is to update the screen and the lens lenses. Now, we already seen a new generation of lenses with the Oculus Go. They're much better than the first that we saw on the Oculus Rift. Like the God rays are completely gone. There's much more clarity. The sweet spot is much bigger, are actually the best Fresnel lenses that we have on the market if I have to think about all the Fresnel lenses that I tried so far. Yes, they don't have the biggest FOV, actually the FOV will be exactly the same of 110 degrees, but what you're gonna see will be very crystal clear. And another thing they did is actually to ditch the IPD adjustment. This is something that I don't really like and don't really understand, because many people had problem with the Oculus Go. I'm an IPD that is pretty much average, but I know for all of you guys, every one of us has a different face, a different placement of our eyes, and sometimes like doesn't really work for everybody. The screen also is gonna be an OLED, and probably you're gonna have the same resolution of what we've seen on the Vive Pro and the Odyssey Plus of 1440 by 1600 in resolution for each eye, and that's the same resolution we're gonna have pretty much also on the Oculus Quest. So the screen dot effect will be reduced, will be easier to spot things like farther away, and will be easier also to read inside as well. Having an OLED display is also better for color reproduction, because it will be much more realistic than an LCD display that usually they lack a little in contrast and in brightness. Now, what's the main goal of the headset at the end of the day? To be a cheap alternative to the Oculus Rift and to bring simplicity to the platform. And we saw that with all the things that they're working on. So you're not gonna need external sensors, or you're not gonna need packages or more stuff. Everything will be contained. And we think about the Oculus Quest, it will be $399 out of the box, with also a chipset inside and everything memory that you need to play directly without anything else. Well, if you think about the Oculus Quest, without the chipset, without the memory inside, without the battery, well, that will be much cheaper. And probably we're gonna be able to see this PC VR headset for around 300, 250. That is the price that you can find pretty much the Oculus Rift right now, also a little less. And of course you have to ditch something, and the IPD adjustment is one of those things. Now, as I said at the beginning, what's very interesting is the market is moving in a different way to be more consumer ready, because if you remember when the first Oculus came out, well, everyone was very pumped. That was like the next big thing, but then didn't really work out in the right way. The sales weren't really high as the expectation, and so they had to recreate a little the momentum and start to like work from the ground up again. And that's what Oculus is doing, is actually preparing their platform for the future in this case. And it's actually very interesting though that we are having all these rumors, all these things right now, when the Oculus Quest is always there to be released. Because to be honest, if you want to do something for the consumer, something ready for them, well, you shouldn't really create the confusion with one or the other. Now there's gonna be GDC at the end of the month, where we're gonna be able to see different games from Oculus, and some people are saying that probably we're gonna see also the Oculus Rift S. I don't think it's a great idea to unveil it right now and during the Oculus Quest, because Oculus is really now focusing on that, but probably we're gonna see it next year. Probably gonna see it unveil it at OC6 to keep the momentum, as we said, of the different product lines. So 3 years for the Go, for the Quest, and for the Oculus Rift. Well, there will not be really the Oculus Rift 2.0, because there's not much technology to go over it, but probably they call it S because there are actually some trade-off. But of course the price of the monitors, the lenses and everything went down a lot, so they're gonna be able to sell it for less, and you're gonna be able to have a better PC experience than the one you have on the Oculus Rift if you don't want to move to other things like the Pimax, the Oculus Rift, or Windows Mixed Reality. I'm actually still enjoying the Oculus Rift. It's something that I can't go over it. I did a series where we're talking about also the Oculus Rift and one of the best headsets still right now, and the main idea of the series was the fact that wasn't really understood anyway, was the fact to say that every single headset right now has a perk that all the other don't have, and the Oculus Rift is so good for comfort, for software, and for the controllers, and there's nothing yet even similar right now on the market that can compete. That many people are stuck with that, and you can't really go anywhere. And having a new Oculus Rift S and next iteration, something that is better, will bring a lot of people back from the first Oculus Rift, and a lot of new people, because it's gonna be easier to use than anything else right now on the market, and experience is already proven. Most of the best games are actually on the Oculus software. Even if you can play with Revive, many times it's much better to play directly on the Oculus. And so that's why it's very, very interesting. It's actually a very, very smart move from Oculus, and that's pretty much the same move that HTC is doing with the Oculus Quest. They're realizing that the HTC Vive was a little too complicated for most of the people, and so what they did, they went to inside-out tracking, just a single cable connection, and pretty much that's it. Doing also controllers that are very, very similar to the one on the Oculus Quest. And I think it's great because when you're thinking about the future of VR, you need something that is kind of familiar, so in the way that you can move from a platform to the other without thinking lost every time, and have something that, okay, this is a VR experience, I know how to use it. If I try that from some friends over there and then I buy another one, I'm pretty much in the same experience. I know what I'm talking about. So that's very, very good. But that's all for me now anyway. We had a lot of information. I think that this is very, very interesting. Well, I want to know what you think about it. Do you think that's interesting that Oculus is coming out with the Oculus Rift S? Do you think we're gonna see it this year? Do you think they're gonna see it next year? Do you think it would be smart to bring it out directly with the Oculus Quest? Because I don't think so at all, as I said. But anyway, guys, that was all. Let me know in the comment below. As always, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like the video, dislike. Subscribe to the channel for more about VR and tech, because here we are, a VR tech channel. And there's also a bell button. I always post 2 or 3 videos a week, so you're not gonna have like notification every single second, but you're gonna be able to don't miss anything important you want about the VR world. Anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. I see you guys next video. Let's hope this is gonna arrive. Ciao.